On this episode of the Parent Pep Talk, there's a game called Yes and that is well known inside the world of improv comedy because it helps create an environment of collaboration, creativity, and fun. Well, there's an improv teacher from New York City who believes that the Yes and game can serve another important purpose as well. It can help parents reduce stress, improve relationships, and teach their kids the importance of laughter and fun.
And now your kid knows that you goof off in a positive, happy, healthy, non-self-destructive way.
Right.
How great is that?
You tell me, how great is that?
It is the greatest feeling in the world.
Plus, our kids panel weighs in on just how hard parenting is and how they notice when their parents are stressed out.
One time when I came downstairs, I saw my mom typing something on her computer, looking at her iPad, and talking to someone on the phone all at the same time. And I told myself, okay, not right now.
And one dad takes one for the team by sharing how agreeing to jump from some rocks into a river finally broke the ice with his kids.
So I finally said yes, and I'm doing it with you.
Oh, good job getting the yes and in there. Perfect for this podcast. That's great. And were they shocked?
Absolutely.
Really? You could see it on their faces.
Oh, absolutely. And they were thrilled. I think for two reasons. One, they're going to get to do it. And two, they're going to get to do it with their dad.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Parent Pep Talk, advice and understanding from experts, parents, and kids. I'm your host, Gary Carton, and I'm excited to be kicking off our second season with a topic all about the power of laughter and joy and how a simple improv game can make a big difference in your home. So let's get right to it. I can't think of a more perfect guest for this episode than Jen Jurek, an improv teacher who has not only dedicated her life to making people laugh, but is now helping other parents bring more laughter into their homes as well. Jen has been working in theater professionally since 1999 and is currently the lead coach, director, and founder of Hallett's Cove Theater and Astoria's Women's Improv in New York City, which is where we caught up with her. So Jen, thank you so much for joining us on the Parent Pep Talk. I really appreciate it.
So good to be here. Thank you.
So this is a podcast about parenting, so I always like to start there. Do you have any kids, and how old are they?
I do have a kid. I have a beautiful little girl named Ripley, and she's 3.5 years old.
And how's it going so far with Ripley?
Oh, she's a monster. We just love her so much. She really is doing everything correct. Like, she throws the most appropriate tantrums you can ever see. It's very dramatic and quite theatrical, and we really love it.
So you clearly love improv, and you're clearly really good at it. What made you decide to take the next step, which is to introduce this to parents?
I have to tell you, it's a totally selfish thing. I wanted to hang out with other moms, but I didn't want to talk about my job. That's probably not a very good answer.
That's a great answer. That's great.
I didn't want to talk about my past or my schooling or even my kid, who I love. But I spend all day with her. I don't need to talk about her anymore.
Right.
I wanted to have a creative experience, an organic, creative relationship with the community I lived in. And I wanted to offer something that I felt completely capable of teaching in a kind and open-hearted way that was not for anything other than bringing people together.
And then one of the unintended consequences, or maybe intended consequences, is that by teaching parents these skills, they're able to take those skills home and have better relationships with their kids, to be more relaxed with their kids, to be more creative with their kids. Did you ever think that was going to happen?
I really expected that it would have a positive effect on people's families. Well, because we put so much pressure on ourselves as parents. We're so tired. We're reading all these books. You're exhausted. You're looking at your kids going, I don't understand you. Or maybe that's just me. But then all of a sudden you need to give yourself a break.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance of finding humor in something, than just the power of laughter, I guess?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, let's talk about the fact that it lowers your blood pressure. It reduces your stress hormones. It brings us closer to each other when we have something we're both laughing at, genuinely laughing at together. It definitely tightens bonds with people.
So let me ask you this. Can anybody be funny? Are people born funny?
I think everybody's very funny.
Really?
I think everyone's hilarious. I do. I think everybody's got it. IT guy, admin lady, everyone. Accountants are the funniest. And there's a lot of parents that come through my doors that don't feel like they're very funny. In fact, I get a lot of emails that say, I'm not funny. I've never taken improv. I just want you to know I've never done this and I'm not funny.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then they come in and they do a few games and they realize being funny is much different than they thought. It brings them back to humanity, brings them back to themselves, brings them back to the moment.
Just kind of takes the edge off.
It does.
Yeah.
And now your kid knows that you goof off in a positive, happy, healthy, non-self-destructive way.
Right.
How great is that?
You tell me, how great is that?
It is the greatest feeling in the world.
What's a step that a parent who's listening is like, that sounds great? What's the first step that they can take to kind of introduce this improv mentality at home?
The answer is the yes and. It is the simplest, most obvious, the best, that's the best place to start.
So how does yes and work? How would a parent implement this with their kids?
You have to say yes and. So your kid, you bring your kid home from school, for example, and your kid's like, I want to go to the park. You're like, yeah, we should go to the park. And you know what? I'm going to bring a bag of goldfish so you don't get hungry on the way there. Let's be monkeys. You're like, yeah, let's be monkeys, and let's put these pillows on our head. You have to be willing to play and add.
Got it.
It's the spirit of open-heartedness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's everything improv. And she's like, I want to go to the park. Yeah, we're not going to the park. We're going to stay home and relax and play in the dirt in the yard. It's you roll and you say yes, and you're fine with whatever they do because you're playing.
Yeah, and this is the number one key to improv.
That is all. That is the full party. That's
Okay.
it. Every improv artist in the world will slap me with so much hate mails coming to me. It's more than that, clearly. But I think yes and is a really good start for parents and kids. It's not too complicated. Nobody even has to know you're doing it.
Okay.
It's just like a secret decision you've made to go ahead and go with the flow with your family today.
So why is this so important for parents to do with their kids?
Because you're a teacher. You're showing them that yes is always available. And I think that will transform your relationship, and they'll feel like they're being enjoyed too. It's the resisting each other that gets really hard.
And the whole point of improv is you're not resisting.
You don't resist
Got
that
it.
flow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You flow with that
right.
flow.
And are there limits? So if the kid's saying, I want to play in the fire, do you say yes and try try this knife with it?
Yes,
I mean, what are the limits in terms of, does a parent need to feel bad if they just come home and say, listen, young lady, you're going to do your homework or else you're going up to your room? Where are the boundaries that parents need to be fun, and where are the boundaries that they need to be disciplined, where they need to be parents?
I think definitely not allowing your child to play in fire is a very good instinct. You don't yes and things that are dangerous or sad or mean. You only yes and the good spirits.
Right.
Sorry, go.
But it's important for parents to also be parents. Someone might be listening and say, listen, I'm not going to be one of those parents that just indulges my kids when, there needs to be some structure and there needs to be some rules and there needs to be some consequences. Is that contrary to what you're saying?
No, I am. That's exactly right. You have to still be parents.
Okay.
Yes and is great.
Okay.
But you do have to still be parents. You
Okay.
have to. You have to say no when no means no.
And what I've heard you say before is that this yes and not only can work wonders for taking the edge off when you get home from work and having this connection with your kids, but it also can help you have a better connection with your partner or your spouse. How does that work?
Oh my gosh, yes. Sometimes the spice of life is battling and having those conversations. I disagree. No, I do. That's really fun. But sometimes you just want to be on each other's team. For example, like you come home, you're stressed out, you come out and you see your husband or your wife or your partner is also stressed out, and they're like, honey, I don't want to talk about anything tonight. I just need to relax. Yes, and I think we should get a pizza too. You're saying yes to your partner. You're agreeing with them and saying, yeah, I'm not going to fight you on that. Let's celebrate this. And if they're like, no, I really just want to be alone. Yeah, you should be alone. And you know what? I'm going to actually take care of the kids tonight. And here's a glass of Sambuca for you. Have a good one. Enjoy it and mean it. It feels like it feels like a nice breath of fresh air when someone's like, can we please go out to dinner soon? And you're like, yes. And I want to take you to your favorite spot. Where do you want to go?
Right.
It just feels so great to be told yes. And what do you need?
And can anybody do this? What happens for people that say, that sounds great, but I'm not that creative and I don't have that much energy? What would you say to a parent like that who kind of doesn't feel like this is the right fit for them, even though it might sound like a good idea?
Well, I will tell you what, person who says that. I think saying yes and doesn't take a lot of creativity, doesn't take a great imagination. It doesn't even take a sense of humor. It just takes a willingness to do it and try it and say it. You don't have to be funny to say yes and. It will automatically be funny that you say yes and to something ridiculous. I challenge your listeners and you.
Okay,
Gary,
I like this.
to say yes and for an entire year. It'll delight someone in your life, and that'll make you feel like, I just agreed with something I normally would have said no to.
And have you ever, can you tell a story where you noticed parents who you saw and they were uptight and they were stressed and then they started to do this and can you talk about the transformation that you've seen?
I have the best story for you. I have a parent who's a lawyer, a defense attorney for prostitutes, for God's sake. And she's very serious. And a lot of things, like she pulls from a dark place sometimes and she's delicious and she's funny and she still doesn't believe it, but she keeps returning. She goes,
right.
But she's the one that came in and was like, I tried this with my daughter. This is a transformation I don't even think she expected.
Right.
It's about delighting yourself and saying yes to yourself as much to others. When you feel goofy, you get a little more creative. Everything opens back up. It's a really good place to start, is just yes-anding in your life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everything that you are doing, for being funny, for bringing joy and laughter into the world, for helping other people bring joy and laughter into the world. You are a superhero, and thanks for sharing some advice with us today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Before we get to our Off the Record segment, I wanted to let you know that the Parent Pep Talk is brought to you by Safe Kids Worldwide, which is an awesome nonprofit that works to ensure that all children, no matter where they live, can grow up safe from preventable injuries. Let me give you an example. This week's Tip of the Week is sponsored by FedEx, so we thought it made sense to focus on a tip to help kids walk safely in their neighborhoods and on their way to school, which is something FedEx and Safe Kids have been working together on for more than 20 years. So here's the tip. We all know drivers are not paying attention the way they used to. So when you're talking to your kids, let them know to make eye contact with the drivers, even if they think the drivers are letting them go ahead. This is a little thing, but it can make a big difference in the safety for your kids. This is just one of the many tips from Safe Kids Worldwide. So check them out at safekids.org, sign up for their Top Tips newsletter or product recalls, or join them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram for more tips, videos, and all kinds of things to keep your kids healthy, active, and safe. Okay, so our next segment is called Off the Record. And for this episode, we interviewed a panel of 9-year-olds to try to give you little insights into what your kids might be thinking. This week's question is from Debbie.
Hi, this is Debbie, and I have a question for the kids panel. It feels like most of the time, my kids can be totally oblivious to what's going on with me. My question is, do kids really even notice what kind of mood their parents are in? And are they even paying attention if it doesn't really directly affect them?
Okay, so we have Tatum, Cammie, Taylor, Mason, and Cooper. You heard the question? What do you think?
Sometimes my mom's like really serious, and I'm like, you can be a businesswoman without being so serious. Like, have some fun. And it's weird because then when she does something like take us to like Busch Gardens or something, I'm like so non-used to it. I'm like, who are you and what have you done with my mother? One time I asked her, why are you singing? It's kind of annoying when I'm doing my homework. And she says, well, I'm trying to do the dishes and it's fighting back, so singing helps me calm down.
And do you think it's easy or hard to be a parent?
Hard. I would think it's hard.
Challenging.
Why do you think so?
I think because they have like a lot of work and they have to like care for their children like at the exact same time. And I think it's really hard to multitask like that.
And how does it feel when your parents are just goofy around you? You know, you come home and they just want to have fun. Does that make you guys feel good?
Yes. Like a few days ago, my dad was like making all these outbursts. He was like singing and making jokes like non-stop. When he's in a funny mood, he does it. And I mean, I wasn't that embarrassed since like it was just me, my mom, and my dad there. But like I felt like half embarrassed, half happy that he was having fun and goofing around.
I think you should have more fun than be stressed out, because some people say fun is a stress reliever. And when I'm happy, like when I was trying out for a travel softball team, I was just having fun and I made it. So what I'm trying to say is if you have fun, you're more likely to succeed and get to where your goal is.
Go ahead.
My dad can figure out how to find the button, how to turn your smile on.
That's pretty good dad you have, huh?
When no one else is there, yeah, it's okay. But like if we're like in the store and like you know how they have like the background music and they start dancing weirdly, it's not okay.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for all that great advice and all that insights and honesty. We really appreciate you taking the time to help parents out there.
Thank you. You're welcome. And good luck, parents.
Yeah.
And now it's time for our Taking One for the Team segment. I kind of think of parenting as a team sport. Well, this is when one generous parent takes one for the team by sharing a personal story that might not paint their kid or their parenting in the best light, but it hopefully helps the rest of us realize that there are no perfect kids, there are no perfect parents, and that we're all doing our best. This week's story comes from Luke.
Hi, my name is Luke, and I have a story I'd like to share with all the parents out there. I have 2 boys, and I've always been a very conservative parent with them. Always trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing as a parent, being responsible, protecting them. And because of that, wasn't a playful side. I never showed them my playful side where we could really engage and just be kids together.
But you love to play all these sports
absolutely.
yourself. Right. But
absolutely.
You just wouldn't do that because you didn't think it was appropriate for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That's your job as a parent, right?
Okay.
To parent is,
right.
So yeah.
How would you say that this kind of not showing your playful side affected your kids?
Well, I think it made them less playful.
Really?
Yeah, I think, they will maybe, if this is what dad's doing, maybe, I shouldn't be playing this. I shouldn't be doing that, So I think it made them, feed off of my conservatism and really have less fun themselves.
And it's not something you saw at the time, but now looking back.
No,
exactly.
Of course not.
Right,
you don't recognize it. You think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's working. It's good. Nobody's getting hurt.
Exactly. So then they're good kids.
Exactly.
Right.
Responsible.
Right. Okay. So what happened?
So then we took a trip out west. All right, and there's a river there where people are jumping off a rock into a deep pool in the river.
Yeah,
all right? And
it looks fun.
It looks fun. Everyone's lined up. Everyone's doing it. Having great. And the kid's like, "Oh, can we do that?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. We're not doing that. That's foolish."
Right. Right.
All right. So they keep asking me. They really want to do this. So I finally said yes, and I'm doing it with you.
Oh, good job getting the yes and in there. Perfect for this podcast. That's great. So you said yes and I'm doing it with, and were they shocked? I mean,
absolutely.
Really? You could see it on their faces.
Oh, absolutely, and they were thrilled.
Okay, so
I think for 2 reasons: 1, they're going to get to do it, and 2, they're going to get to do it with their dad.
Right.
So yeah, so we did. We jumped off, and it was great. It was fun.
No one got hurt.
Nobody got hurt, and
did you had fun doing it?
Oh, absolutely.
Because you are away from your kids. You have friends and you play and you have fun. It's just a different person when your kids are around.
Yeah, when your kids are around, you feel like you got to be that parent.
Right.
More than anything else.
Right. So how did this change? Did anything change now following this big moment where you guys were jumping off cliffs together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Well, now we engage a lot more with having fun and just it's a lot more playful environment all the way around.
Really?
And they want to get more engaged with doing things with me, and as well as I want to do it with them. So it's really made our relationship a lot stronger and a lot more enjoyable.
Wow. And are you still the parent type, but you're just showing your playful side more?
Now, you obviously still have to parent, so you can't be a yes and all the time.
Right.
But I think it's definitely a very important part of parenting is to have that playful time with your kids.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Luke. You are a total hero. I really appreciate you sharing that story and for being an awesome parent and for being super fun and helping all the other parents out there. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Gary.
And now here's a short preview from our next episode on postpartum depression and anxiety, something that isn't talked about much, but is a lot more common than you might think. And I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, because this does happen, as you said, 91% of people.
Yes.
And yet this is something, again, doing some research, nobody talks about.
No.
So a lot of people feel it, nobody talks about it. Why is that?
No. So I think people don't talk about it for a variety of reasons. I think number one, the stigma of depression or anxiety. Number 2, shame and guilt. Moms think, what kind of monster of a mom has these kinds of thoughts and images? Number 3, I think fear that the baby is going to be taken away, fear that our partners are going to take our babies away. And so it leads us to kind of shut down and to not be open to talking about this.
And the reality is none of those things are true.
Correct.
You're not a bad mom.
Correct.
Your baby is not going to be taken away.
Which is why those of us who work in the field really want to normalize this experience, that postpartum depression or anxiety or panic disorder or intrusive thoughts is really the number one complication of pregnancy and childbirth, and that 91% of new moms experience this.
And that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for tuning into the Parent Pep Talk. If you liked our podcast, please subscribe for free on iTunes or on your podcast app, and also leave us a rating. If you didn't like it, I promise I'll try to do better the next time. I'd also love to hear from you. If you have any comments or questions for me or our kids panel, or stories you'd like to share that would make other parents feel better, or ideas for episodes, please don't hesitate to email me at parentpeptalk@safekids.org, or contact me on Twitter or Instagram at Gary Carton. Have a great week, everyone. Remember, you're doing great even if it doesn't always feel like it, and we'll see you next time on the Parent Pep Talk.